other huge changes. It could open the door for the government to start negotiating drugs earlier in the life cycle of these products, when manufacturers have had fewer years enjoying a monopoly. It might ultimately lead to legislation that would mandate the same process in the private market. So I think this is a really fundamental shift in the way that drug pricing works in the United States, and we're in really uncharted waters.
Right. It's not just a list of 10 drugs. It's the beginning of a whole new process. The government actually changing its relationship to the pharmaceutical industry. In a way, opening, from pharma's perspective, this Pandora's box.
That's right. And this is a big part of the reason the drug industry has fought this program so hard. It's a real existential threat to their core of their business model, which really hinges on extremely high prices relative to the rest of the world in the United States. I think another point that's important here is that the Medicare negotiation program is really an experiment. And it's shaping up to be a test of the argument that the drug industry is making, that the sky will fall if Medicare has the ability to negotiate the prices of drugs. If we see that the sky does not fall, that the drug industry continues to remain profitable and produce cures, and the lower prices take effect, well then we'll have our answer. And that's an answer that will ripple throughout the American healthcare system.
Rebecca, thank you.
Thank you for having me.
We'll be right back.
People are excited about what AI will do for them. IBM is excited about what AI will do for business. Your business. Introducing Watson X, a platform designed to multiply output by tailoring AI to your needs. When you Watson X your business, you can build AI to help coders code faster, customer service respond quicker, and HR handle repetitive tasks in less time. Let's create AI that transforms business with Watson X. Learn more at ibm.com/WatsonX. IBM, let's create.
Here's what else you should know today.
This is the thick of it. We are in the middle of it right now. You can hear that roar.
Oh, here we go. Oh, it's the house. Oh my gosh. The whole roof just came off the house, Mike.
Idalia, the first storm to pummel Florida this season, made landfall as a Category 3 hurricane at 7:45 a.m. in Taylor County, southeast of Tallahassee. It inundated coastal villages, carrying rain and storm surge with winds near 125 miles per hour. But by late Wednesday afternoon, it had weakened to a tropical storm and moved to Georgia and then into South Carolina. Authorities in Florida reported 2 deaths from car crashes that were attributed to weather conditions, but said that across the state, the damage was less severe than expected. And a wave of drones exploded in 6 separate regions of Russia overnight on Wednesday, in an apparent sign that Ukraine was increasingly capable of striking deep inside Moscow's territory. Around the same time, Russia unleashed an aerial assault on at least 3 regions of Ukraine, including one of the most significant barrages the Kiev region has experienced in months. Today's episode was produced by Rob Zimko, Moosh Zaidi, Shannon Lin, and Ricky Novetsky. It was edited by Lisa Chow and John Ketchum. Fact-checked by Susan Lee and Caitlin Love. Contains original music by Marian Lozano and Diane Wong, and was engineered by Chris Wood. Our theme music is by Jim Rumberg and Ben Lansford of Wonderly. That's it for the Daily. I'm Sabrina Tyrese. See you tomorrow.
This podcast is supported by the Polestar 3. Designing an SUV for the electric age means redesigning what an SUV can be. Introducing the Polestar 3. Designed to go farther with up to 300 miles of range, designed to protect with advanced safety systems, designed to look and sound like nothing else on the road. Polestar 3, the SUV for the electric age. Visit Polestar.com to learn more and design yours today.
Good morning. Welcome to Axios Today. It's Thursday, August 31st. I'm Nyla Booth. Today on the show, the rise of the apocalyptic seed vault. Plus, hate crimes are still increasing in the U.S. But first, concerns grow over GOP leadership after Mitch McConnell again freezes before reporters. That's today's one big thing. Senator Mitch McConnell once again seemed to freeze up during a press conference yesterday for the second time since late July. This time, he was in his home state of Kentucky.
Running for re-election in 2026.
At this point, McConnell froze for about 7 seconds before one of his aides intervened.
Did you hear the question, Senator? Running for re-election in 2026?
But McConnell was still unable to answer the question.
All right, I'm sorry, you all. We're going to need a minute.
The incident sent ripples of worry through the Republican Party in Washington yesterday. Axios politics reporter Hans Nichols was at the White House. Hans, I have to say the video of this, much like the last one, is disconcerting and difficult to watch, regardless of what your political affiliations are.
Yeah, it's scary. I don't think any human could watch that and think that Mitch McConnell was okay. He appeared disoriented and he appeared confused. You know, the official explanation that he was lightheaded simply doesn't pass the smell test. And, you know, I suspect, and talking to top Republicans, they're going to have to update that, if not entirely alter it, and give an explanation that makes a little bit more sense, because Republican senators know that they're going to be asked questions, and the lightheaded defense simply isn't going to cut it.
What do we know about what's going on with McConnell medically? He's had a series of falls and a head injury this year, so do we have any more information on that?
No, we know very little. And to be clear, Mitch McConnell isn't in the line of succession. There's a higher standard for the president, the vice president, the speaker of the House, and the president pro tem of the Senate. He's a very important, crucial person. He is, fundamentally been part of leadership. And I suspect that will be the same here for a few months, maybe even through the election. I don't suspect that will be the case in 2025 and 2026, but that's a long way away.
And do we know if he plans to run for re-election?
The irony here is that was the question that he was asked. And, the public line has never been anything other than that. I simply don't think we can know for any certainty. And in a lot of ways, health and fitness will probably play a role in determining how long he serves in the United States Senate.
Hans Nichols, part of Axios' politics team. Thanks, Hans.
Thanks for having me.
Hate crimes increased by an average of 22% in the nation's 10 largest cities last year. That's according to a new report from the Center for the Study of Hate and Extremism, and it continues a 22-year trend of increases in these crimes nationwide. Axios race and justice reporter Russell Contreras is.
Since the election of Donald Trump, the pandemic, and the murder of George Floyd, the number of hate crimes in the U.S. has reached record levels every year. This study from the Center for the Study of Hate and Extremism shows this trend is not subsiding. The study found that Los Angeles in 2022 had 609 hate crimes, and that's the most of any other city last year. New York saw 607 hate crimes, also a record. And Chicago saw the biggest percentage increase in hate crimes with an 84.6% spike. While Black Americans were the most frequently targeted in many cities, the study says there were also other cities where the LGBTQ plus community, Asian Americans, and Jewish Americans were the most attacked.
Ecosystems can be safeguarded well into the future. They provide the genetic diversity that research and breeding programs need to improve and develop new cultivars or cultivated plants. And those cultivars may have improved disease resistance, improved crop yield, improved quality, storability, improved processing, and just like a host of different things that could be incorporated into plant and crop breeding programs.
So it sounds like we're not waiting for a doomsday scenario to use these. We actually may need these right now.
Right. So we have, there's a global network of more than 1,700 gene banks worldwide, and I think one of the most notorious ones is often referred to as the Doomsday Vault. That's the Svalbard Global Seed Vault, and that's buried deep within a Norwegian mountain in the Arctic Circle. It's a facility where they're currently storing over 1.2 million duplicates of seed samples. Those are from nearly every country in the world. So this vault was created in 2008 to protect seed supplies for future growing needs against threats like climate change, extreme weather events, wars. And this vault is not an active repository. So that means that it is not something that is being accessed. There's only ever been one exemption to that, and that was in 2015 when, as a result of the Syrian civil war, the International Center for Agricultural Research in the dry areas was unable to maintain its gene bank in Syria, and it made the first ever withdrawal of seeds from the Svalbard Seed Vault to regenerate, to store those seeds in active collections.
How important are these seed vaults to maintaining global food security in the future?
These seed vaults are extremely important. So to withstand climate extremes, crops really need to be resilient. And that resilience, it comes from genetic diversity. And a major use of the diversity in gene banks is to better bolster and prepare crops to cope with climate emergencies. Gene banks and seed banks are also important in that they offer these emergency stockpiles of many of the crops that we consume and rely on. So a United Nations report that published this summer found that the world is far off track to meeting its goal of ending hunger and food insecurity by 2030. Between 691 and 783 million people faced hunger in 2022. That was an increase of roughly 122 million people since 2019, according to that report. And per the UN, climate extremes have played a central role in pushing up the total number of food insecure people today. So these seed vaults are crucial to protecting the future of our food supply.
Irella Horn-Muller covers climate justice for Axios. Thanks, Irella.
Thanks, Marla.
That's it for us today. I'm Nyla Boodoo. Thanks for listening. Stay safe, and we'll see you back here tomorrow morning.
LinkedIn presents.
I'm Rufus Griscom, and this is The Next Big Idea. Today, schools all over America struggle with a racial academic achievement gap. Can a small town in Ohio help us figure out how to close Labor Day weekend is upon us, which means that kids across the country are headed back to school, finally, from the perspective of this parent. And in light of that, we wanted to bring you a story about schooling in America. It's a story about race, integration, and equity, a story that's equal parts inspiring and dispiriting, a story with lessons that, if applied properly, could reshape American education for the better. Here's our producer, Caleb Bissinger, to tell you more.
On May 17, 1954, the Supreme Court handed down a ruling that changed America.
In a unanimous decision, the 9 Supreme Court justices ruled racial segregation in publicly supported schools to be unconstitutional, declaring that it denied equal opportunity.
He's talking, of course, about Brown versus Board of Education. Today, we remember that case as a watershed moment in the fight for civil rights. But what many of us don't remember, what we weren't taught, is that all over the country, the High Court's decision was met with rage. In Tennessee, pro-segregationists blew up an elementary school because it admitted one black student, a 6-year-old girl. In Virginia, officials decided they'd rather close schools than integrate them. So they shut down an entire school system for 5 years. In New York City, 10,000 white parents took to the streets to protest a plan that would have transferred a small number of students between predominantly black and Puerto Rican schools and white ones. And in Boston, where decades of discriminatory housing laws and racist covenants had resulted in highly segregated neighborhoods, and therefore highly segregated neighborhood schools, a judge ordered the city to integrate with busing, putting kids on school buses and sending black students to white schools and white students to black ones. This plan was so unpopular it triggered more than 40 riots. Enraged white Bostonians attacked little black kids who were just trying to go to school.
They were throwing eggs at the window and trying to hit people with them. And there was throwing, and while we was in school, they was throwing glass at black people and little kids.
And then there was Shaker Heights in Ohio. As battles over desegregation blazed across the country, this wealthy white suburb of Cleveland flipped the script. Residents didn't resist integration, they embraced it, first in their neighborhoods and then in their schools. In 1975, just 1 year after those black kids had eggs and glass thrown at them for just trying to go to class, the New York Times ran a front-page story about Shaker Heights with the headline, "An integrated suburb thrives in Ohio." In Shaker, the paper of record declared, black and white children grow up side by side from toddler to teenager, acquiring friends of both races in one of the country's most dramatically successful long-term ventures in racial integration. But how successful was it? Shaker's decades-long pursuit to fulfill the promise of racial integration is the subject of a new book by Laura Meckler called Dreamtown, Shaker Heights, and the Quest for Racial Equity. Laura grew up in Shaker. She graduated from its excellent high school, went on to attend one of the nation's best universities, and is now an education reporter at the Washington Post. Hers is a success story, the broad outlines of which can be mapped onto the lives of numerous other white Shaker boys. But for black students, the story is often different. Yes, many of them achieve tremendous academic and professional success, but statistically, black kids at Shaker are more likely to be in remedial classes than advanced placement. And on the SAT, they scored, on average, 300 points lower than their white classmates. As Laura dug into her hometown's history, she found that for decades, Shaker schools have been balanced in terms of racial representation, but they weren't balanced in terms of academic outcomes. Now, I should point out that achievement gaps like this exist in schools all over the country. According to research from Stanford, the difference in standardized test scores between white and black students nationwide is the equivalent of 2 years of education. 2 years. How do you close that gap? That's what they're trying to figure out today in Shaker Heights. They're implementing new education strategies aimed at shrinking the achievement gap. Strategies that, if successful, can be replicated in schools from coast to coast. Shaker Heights, the small city that defied the odds decades ago by embracing integration, is now realizing it didn't go far enough, and it's trying to redesign its schools as a result. Will it work? That's the question we're trying to answer this hour. Stay with us.
Hey there, I'm Leah Smart, host of In the Arena, where we explore the stories and ideas that increase clarity in our lives so we can work and live in a better world. Tune into my weekly podcast, wherever you like to listen.
Laura Meckler, welcome to the Next Big Idea podcast.
Thank you so much for having me.
You got a new book out. It's called Dreamtown, Shaker Heights and the Quest for Racial Equity. And it's centered on Shaker Heights, Ohio. This is a community outside of Cleveland. Paul Newman grew up there. And he called it the Cleveland suburb that every other American suburb aspired to be. You also grew up in Shaker Heights. What's it like?
the filing today, and here I'm quoting, filer is not aware of anything in the Judicial Conference regulation issued for more than 30 years or in any advice provided by the Judicial Conference to judges. That is, it is inconsistent with this, meaning his, position. Translation, this was my understanding, and there's no evidence I was wrong.
NPR's Nina Totenberg, thank you.
Thank you, Ryan.
As Russia continues to look for ways to sell its oil and gas, it's turning increasingly to the Arctic. The summer has seen a sharp increase in the number of Russian oil tankers shuttling crude to ports in China via polar waters. Climate change means there is less ice for ships to navigate. NPR's international affairs correspondent Jackie Northam reports.
For more than a decade, Russia has been trying to develop the Northern Sea Route, a shipping lane that runs along the country's northern coastline. Russia considers it part of its internal waters. That's disputed by other Atlantic nations. Before the war in Ukraine, the Northern Sea Route was mostly used to transport Arctic oil and gas to Europe. That stopped last year after the European Union and the UK banned imports of Russian crude.
And so now a lot of this Arctic crude oil is headed for Asia, predominantly China.
Malta Humpert is founder of the Arctic Institute in Washington, D.C. He says in the past, oil tankers rarely tried to navigate the frozen waters of the Northern Sea Route.
Last year there was one ship for the entire year, and we've already seen 6 ships right now, and the summer navigation season we have another 6 to 8 weeks to go.
Russia does send crude to China via pipeline, but that's not enough to make up for the loss of oil sales to Europe, says Victor Katona, lead crude analyst at Kepler, a commodity analysis group.
Those pipelines are fully maxed out, so anything that will be incremental needs to come from the seas, and the Northern Sea Route is the quickest way right now.
Katona says using the Arctic route has long appealed to shipping companies because it can cut enormous amounts of time from end to end.
So instead of, let's say, 45 days, which it would take for a Russian tanker to go through the Suez Canal with the Northern Sea Route, they end up having 35 days of voyage.
But it's a challenging and environmentally sensitive route. Rebecca Pincus is director of the Polar Institute at the Woodrow Wilson Center. She says areas such as the far eastern part of the Northern Sea Route still get a lot of thick ice. A couple of years ago, about 20 commercial ships got stuck in the East Siberian Sea.
The ships that got trapped had to wait several weeks to be broken out by large icebreakers. And, Russia has a strong fleet of icebreakers, but, it doesn't have continual cover.
Pincus says massive oil tankers do not have icebreaking capability. She says earlier this year, Rosatom, which administers the Northern Sea Route, announced it intended to send oil tankers out unaccompanied by icebreakers.
That is a very high-risk plan. It's a sign, I think, of Russian desperation, right? Russia's trying to get as much Arctic oil to Asia to bring in income because of, Western sanctions. And so Russia's sort of running all of the vessels that it's got.
And then there's always the risk of an accident, a tanker getting crushed by ice or running aground. Andrew Hartzig is the Anchorage-based director of the Arctic program at the Ocean Conservancy, an environmental advocacy group. He says an oil spill would seriously affect the ecosystem, birds, fish, vertebrates in the ocean floor, communities in the area. Hartzig says ice can make an oil spill much more difficult to clean up.
The presence of ice in the water can interfere with mechanical cleanup devices, with booms, with skimmers. And then that area is also subject to strong currents. If there ever were a spill, that oil would not stay put.
Which could spread the oil to the U.S. side of the Bering Strait. Hartzig says Russia has a pretty good safety record on the Northern Sea Route. But that could change if more vessels are flying the waters across the top of the world. Jackie Northam, NPR News.
This is 91.7 WVXU. Miami University and the University of Miami face off on the gridiron tomorrow in Florida. The idea of Miami versus Miami got on the bone thinking about how the game might sound to sports fans. She's the editor of Miami University's Alumni Magazine. She spoke with WVXU's Tana Weingartner on her recent article, Visioning the Future, and how we ended up with two such similarly named universities.
My lead is Kevin helps the announcer when Miami University plays the University of Miami in football on September 1. And I'm envisioning the announcer going, Miami is within sight of Miami's end zone with 2 downs to go, and Miami calls a timeout. What?
All right, whose fault is this? Who had the name Miami first?
Well, Miami University, clearly, we are 100 years older than the University of Miami, and that is significant that the names are truly different.
Okay. So what happens, you know, you guys have the name, as people like to say, Miami was a university before Florida was a state, and then along comes this Florida University. So, like, what happened?
We don't actually know. We've tried to look up where the University of Miami got its name. Some people have a theory that there was a river named after the Indians. Other people say that there were a lot of entrepreneurs actually from this part of Ohio that went down and settled that part of the state in Florida. Regardless, we don't know why they picked the University of Miami. We tried, our president at the time and an alumnus at the time who became president tried to convince them to pick another name, and they just didn't do it.
How did they try to convince them?
Well, we had a professor who became president, who's well known on our campus, Dr. Upham, and he wrote a letter in our alumni magazine trying to rally our alumni and our president to convince them that we already had this well-established name, and they, which I thought was interesting that he said, were a famous winter metropolis of fashion. I thought, ooh, ouch, that hurt. And their president actually said they were considering other names, University of Southern Florida, among others, but they just never made the change. And but they said they would consider it, and they also said they would call themselves University of Miami, Florida. That didn't fit.
Yeah, that didn't come to fruition. Are college names not, like, copyrighted or something? Did Miami University not have some sort of argument here?
No, it wasn't copyrighted. And yes, they didn't use our name technically. They didn't say Miami University. It's the University of Miami. It's just that people get confused and they have to carry of Miami University, and then you really know the difference.
Did it ever come up again? Has there ever been any other attempt by Miami University to convince the University of Miami to do something different?
Not that I know of. I do know that our alums are particularly sensitive, and it mostly comes up in sports when they call us Miami of Ohio, because we are Miami University in Oxford, Ohio, and they don't say Miami of Florida, but I'm not aware that we raised this another time.
To your knowledge, have there been any, like, major snafus or anything caused by these two names being so similar, you know, on the national stage?
Not that I know, but there is a very obscure reference in one of the original letters. I don't know what they're talking about. They don't spell it out. But something happened right when it opened, it being the school in Florida. That said, some kind of a reference where there was confusion, and the president in Florida apologized to the president in Ohio. So I don't know what happened, but it must have been publicity that the president wanted, and it looked like we got the gist of it because we were known and they were not.
All right, any predictions for when the University of Miami plays Miami University on September 1st?
I predict that Miami will win.
All right, well done. Donna Bowen is editor of Miami. That's Miami University's Alumni Magazine. Thank you so much for your time today.
Sure, thank you.
Donna Bowen was speaking with WVXU's Tana Weingartner. You can read more about the Miami Redhawks and Miami Hurricanes and find a link to Bowen's essay on the history of the two names at WVXU.org.
Support comes from Hamilton County Developmental Disability Services, helping people with developmental disabilities to live, work, learn, and fully participate in their communities. They support more than 8,000 people each year, from babies to senior citizens. You can learn more at hamiltondds.org or 513-794-3300.
Public radio isn't something you think about all the time, but the stories
stories you hear do stick with you. And the public radio podcasts are some of your favorites. And you do listen every day. WVXU is your station. Listeners like you keep it going strong. Please donate at WVXU.org. Thank you.
This traffic report is supported by B&G Foods. Northbound 71 at Gilbert, there's a wreck blocking the left lane. Southbound 71, just after State Route 48, there's a broken down vehicle blocking the two left lanes. Southbound 71 after 275, a wreck in the center lane. Northbound 71, 75 at 12th Street, a wreck in the right lane. Southbound 71 after Kenwood, a wreck on the shoulder. Also, southbound 71, 75 at Donaldson, a broken down vehicle. There's one at Dixie. And northbound 71, 75 at Burlington Pike, a broken down vehicle. 55 for tonight's low, sunny and 86 tomorrow. It's 76 degrees now.
This is All Things Considered from NPR News. I'm Mary Louise Kelly.
And I'm Ari Shapiro. Abraham Varghese is a physician and an author whose books always reflect some part of his life. His new novel is called The Covenant of Water. It's his first in more than a decade since the bestseller Cutting for Stone in 2009. The Covenant of Water is dedicated to Mariama, his mother.
When she was in her 70s, my niece, who is her namesake, asked her, Amachi, what was it like when you were a little girl? And my mother was so taken by that question that she wrote longhand in her wonderful penmanship a 100-page document, with tales of our relatives and stuff we'd all heard as children growing up, much embellished, of course.
That record of generations inspired him. This book is also about the lineage of one family.
And about a secret that goes back many generations, which is that members of the family, going back every generation, have drowned in the most unusual places, shallow puddles, lagoons, lakes, in a land where everybody swims.
That land is at the southern tip of India, where Varghese's own family originated. The novel revolves around that unusual drowning condition, a medical mystery that unfolds alongside dramatic changes in technology and politics over nearly a century. Early in the epic, Varghese offers a sort of roadmap for the story that's about to unfold. Here he is reading from the book.
The grandmother is certain of a few things. A tale that leaves its imprint on a listener tells the truth about how the world lives. And so, unavoidably, it is about families, their victories and wounds, and their departed, including the ghosts who linger. It must offer instructions for living in God's realm, where joy never spares one from sorrow. A good story goes beyond what a forgiving God cares to do. It reconciles families and unburdens them of secrets whose bond is stronger than blood. But in their revealing, as